This is Spotlight Omaha. Spotlight Omaha is a local podcast that highlights local businesses and influential movers and shakers in the Omaha business community. Spotlight Omaha is brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. Now, from the Pyramid Contractor Studios, the host of Spotlight Omaha, Jimmy Allen.
Good morning and welcome inside the Spotlight Omaha podcast. We take you around the city of Omaha, introduce you to local business owners, influential figures, and people who are making an impact on our community. We are brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. Pixel Fire Marketing can put your company at the top of Google searches, help you with website design, and give you a campaign to post to your social media ads to help your company. If you need help with any of that, check out pixelfiremarketing.com today. Joining us inside of the Pyramid Contractor Studios, Angie Vogel with Top Form. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
What is Top Form and what are you guys doing to help people on their health journeys?
So Top Form is a health clinic. We do a lot of things. We started out with primarily weight loss, and then we've expanded into hormone replacement for women, testosterone replacement therapy for men. We recently have started doing some what's called functional health is what we call it, which is kind of a holistic look at the whole person to really get to the root causes of some of the different disease states and things that people have. We also just started IV hydration, and coming soon is some Botox and filler kind of stuff. So
it's so interesting because you guys are kind of a hybrid of a medical advisor slash beauty spa almost to some degree, right? Like you're helping people look better and feel better, right? Is kind of what I'm going for. But with all of that, like it's really easy to put that umbrella over it, but there's so much to keep up to date on from a medical standpoint, from a product standpoint. How difficult is it from a day-to-day basis just to kind of keep your finger on the pulse of everything that's going on?
It can certainly be a lot.
Yeah.
The weight loss stuff we got very, very good at. I would say that we are certainly experts in that arena. You may have heard of GLP medications. Yep. We were very successful starting that, and we did that because I was on my own weight loss journey.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And so that's the reason I got passionate about it and started the company to begin with, is because I found something that worked really well for me. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to share that with other people. And I have, probably through Top Form, we've helped something like probably nearly 1,000 patients lose weight and keep it off in most cases. So we're very proud of that. So that's where it kind of started, but then we expanded into these other things.
Because people need help.
They sure do.
Yeah.
And the thing about obesity as a health problem is that there's so many underlying things that go along with it. It's not, people get tired of going to their doctor and hearing you just need to move more.
Take this medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's underlying things. So a lot of people have, insulin resistance, things like PCOS and inflammatory problems.
What's PCOS? Sorry.
Polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm. Makes sense why I wouldn't understand it.
Yeah. You would not.
Yeah.
Hormone imbalances and things like that. So because of all these other things that then also play into obesity, we expanded into hormone replacement for women, testosterone replacement for men. So we're really kind of getting more into the root causes of why that happened. And it's just kind of, we brought on a wonderful functional health nurse practitioner. I don't do that part of it, but her name is Amber Lee.
Shout out to Amber Lee.
Yeah, and she is just absolutely wonderful. So we're working on expanding that, and people are loving that program so far.
If you don't mind, I want to dive into the GLP-1 medication stuff for a minute, because it kind of feels like products like Ozempic and things like that hit the market and it was a boom, right?
Yeah.
But there was always that worry. We don't know what it is yet. There hasn't been as much testing, maybe. Mm-hmm. How do you answer those questions to people that have questions? Because obviously it's different for everybody.
Sure.
But if somebody comes in and is like, why is this working? Why should I be concerned, etc.?
Okay, so that class of medications, the GLP-1 agonist medications, mm-hmm. so that's your semaglutide, your liraglutide, all those medications have been out as a class since like 2006 or 8.
Sure.
So a long time, not forever. Obviously, we don't know all the long-term effects of it.
Right.
But as with any medication, there's benefits and risks. So, obesity, we know is,
there's a lot of research on that.
Yeah. It's a risk factor though for so many other diseases. diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, stroke, sleep apnea, all those things, they play into each other. So while we don't know necessarily long-term effects of those medications, we do know that it helps you, lose weight, which benefits you in so many other
and
ways.
19 years is a long time too.
Right,
so
right.
not in the grand scheme of medical reasons, but
right.
Talk me through a consultation. If somebody walks in off the street, you guys are right over by me in Papillion, off of Main Street. What is if I'm walking in off the street? What does that process look like? And what can people expect when they walk in the door at Top Form?
Well, we do a lot of. It's kind of by appointment only.
Okay.
Right now, we don't have store or clinic hours, I
Sure.
should say, right now. So a lot of times people first contact us through email or by calling, and then my nurse Emily will reach out to them and answer any kind of initial questions they might have, and then find out what it is that they're interested in, and then get them the right intake paperwork and things like that. So if someone's interested in weight loss, for instance, we offer different types of appointments. We can do just via secure messaging. We can message back and forth. That's
through the website.
Through the website. We have a secure platform, electronic health record that we do that through.
Okay.
They can do phone or video, virtual visits. Kind of like your normal telemedicine visits that you might have just at your doctor's office, and then we do in-person visits also. So
you guys don't just say, here's the product, hope it works.
No.
You also have to give them an accountability partner along the way. Why is that such a big deal?
Well, it is a big deal. So, as we talked a little bit before we went on camera about med spas, and med spas are great, but it seems like everybody is offering these medications now.
Sure.
And it truly is just you walk in, you purchase this medication, and they just kind of say, here's the side effects, there you go, and that absolutely. So these are prescription medications. These aren't things that you should just be, walking in and talking to somebody who knows a little bit about it.
They tried it once. Yeah.
Sure. There are side effects. And so, I always make sure, first of all, that they're aware of what these side effects are.
Sure.
And they're aware of how to manage, we talk a lot about how to manage all these different side effects and how to avoid them completely. I think that's, because first and foremost, I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm not just,
with a master's degree.
With a master's degree. So, I want people to lose weight safely, obviously.
Sure.
So
priority number one for you?
Yeah, it is priority number one for me. The other thing is, you want to make sure that you're setting realistic expectations for people. We see the Kardashians were on the Ozempic and all that stuff.
Well, yeah, their show's only 30 minutes long, so naturally they lost that much weight in 30 seconds.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, people think, they get upset if they don't lose 15 pounds in the first month, and for most people, that's just not realistic.
Is that the biggest hurdle? Because I think of TikTok. Somebody on TikTok, they buy a product and they put it up in 12 seconds. So naturally, when you buy it, it's going to be up and magically. You don't got to worry about assembly. But probably the same thing similar with weight loss. Is that the biggest hurdle for you guys to get over? Is this does take time? It isn't a magic wand.
I don't know that it's a hurdle, because I set my patients up with the right expectations from the get-go.
That's a great point.
Now, they may have friends who have, so they have
faster results.
And everybody's different, but I tell everybody, good sustainable weight loss is about 2 pounds a week on average. So you're going to have, weeks where you don't lose anything. Then you're going to have weeks where you lose 5 pounds. It's kind of a, it's like a
long-term.
Yeah,
plan.
It's long-term, and we don't want you to lose too
Look, you're getting kind of a consultation just by listening to the Spotlight Omaha podcast.
Yeah. What it is it's a tool for weight loss. It's not a magic wand. So if you're not making the changes along with the medication, first of all, if you're ever hoping to get off of the medication, all the weight's going to come right back. It's just like any
you have to change habits.
Yeah, you have to change your habits. So if you're losing weight slowly, you're doing small sustainable changes, hopefully in your lifestyle too, that help you to keep your weight off and be successful.
I want to come back to that for a second, but I want to talk about, and to your point, everybody's different. The side effects. I mean, can you give me a ballpark percentage of how many people just don't see side effects at all?
Don't see any at all?
Yeah.
Oh,
very few.
Probably fairly few.
Okay.
I would say maybe a third don't see any at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think nausea far and away is the most common side effect with these medications. I think a lot of times though, and I tell all my patients this, when you start on these medications, so we're Americans.
Yeah. There's a Burger King on every corner.
Yeah. But here's the thing, we eat really fast. We don't eat to enjoy food here in the United States. We just don't. We fast, fast, fast,
Yep.
eat. So what happens
You are a
is-
business owner.
Yeah.
I can relate. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I was an ER nurse for years and
Sure.
years and years. So seriously, you get 10 minutes for lunch, you cram the food in. But we
Usually
all
out of a vending machine.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, but we all eat like that. And so what happens is you're full before you actually feel full.
Mhm.
And so that having your stomach be really full is a trigger for nausea. So I think what happens, especially when people start, is they're still cramming their normal portion sizes down just as fast. They're not eating slowly and mindfully. And so then their stomach, is really full. So the way that these medications work, sorry, just to back up, is that it slows down how fast your stomach empties. So you feel full, longer. So when your stomach's not emptying.
Is that like a G-track situation then? Like something with.
Oh, the GI tract.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
It slows everything down.
Gotcha.
So when you cram all this food in, it sits there forever. And it's like after you eat a giant Thanksgiving dinner, I mean, think how crappy you feel. You feel like that all the time. So then you get the nausea.
Well, I think about like plantar fasciitis is a GI tract problem, and it could be caused from that. Does that help? Does GLP-1 medications help with things like that as well?
So that would be like an inflammatory issue. And
gotcha.
Interestingly, yes, tirzepatide in particular, tirzepatide is Zepbound or Mounjaro, which you've probably heard of, a little bit different than
absolutely.
That's actually being studied for some management of inflammatory disorders.
Very
I
cool.
have a woman who takes tirzepatide, a patient of mine, for her rheumatoid arthritis.
Wow.
I have
because it helps with
inflammation. It helps with the
that
inflammation.
much?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have another one who takes it for psoriasis.
I just said it helps with inflation.
Yeah,
inflammation.
Yeah, inflammation. Yeah, it's amazing. So,
and we're catching up with Angie Vogel of Top Form here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. I can't help but ask about your staff, because when you click on your website, when you click on your Facebook page, they're the first thing that's there. It's a large team. Why is it such a big deal for you to have so many people that are helping people?
Well, because I need help.
Sure.
First of all,
don't we all?
My team is so, I'm very proud of how carefully I've chosen the people that I work with, because they are all so gifted in their own ways with helping our patients. So there's me, and then I have two other nurse practitioners, Leah and Lisa, who do weight loss. And then of course there's Amberly that I mentioned that does the functional health piece of it. All of them are very passionate about Lisa and Leah in particular with weight loss. And then Amberly with the more functional holistic side of things.
Well, a lot of the conversations we have in this room is difficulty on hiring, putting your name on something, handing it off to somebody that you obviously vet to some degree, but asking them to continue your business on and give them kind of the keys to the kingdom to say, how difficult was that for you when you first opened up? And is it still a struggle for you today?
It's really not a struggle. I think that, we have a fantastic team. I knew Leah for years and years. We worked together at a local metro hospital.
Sure.
So I knew her already. Amberly, I knew of her, and she had a great reputation, and so I didn't have any fear where that was concerned. Lisa, I got to know because she was actually a patient of mine.
Oh, very cool.
Who felt so good about herself, and so
there's a theme there then, right? Like you had your own journey, became passionate about it. Leah, you said correct, had her own journey, became passionate about it. Is that why it's so simple to hire people? Because you're hiring people that are passionate about the product already?
Yeah, it's really easy to do. And nursing is different. Anything healthcare, it's different than just like working at
you gotta be a little off to do it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I worked in nurse recruiting for 4 years, so I can understand. I understand the process.
Yeah. I mean, it's you just nurses are caretakers, and so just generally, of course, it's sometimes difficult, I suppose, but I haven't had any trouble. It's Nurses Week. I don't know if
I was just about to bring it up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I definitely don't want to leave out the nurses that work with us, because they really are a crucial part of our team. So Jamie was my first hire, and she had her own journey. I've known her though for years and years and years.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah. And so she's really, we call her the enforcer because sometimes she's,
she's the one that gets it done.
Yeah, we tease her because she's like the bad guy. She's the one who.
We all need a bad cop.
Yeah. When people, write in and they say, well, I'm just not losing any weight, and she says, are you tracking your calories?
Yeah.
What's your protein looking like?
How many cheeseburgers did you have today? Yeah.
Yep. Have you been taking it on time? And she's
is that a trigger for you? Like because I mean, listen, Yelp reviews or whatever are going to happen, and you can't please everybody, even if you are doing everything correctly. If somebody is like, "Hey, I'm not losing weight, and I'm doing all," and they write it online because that's what people do nowadays. Is that a trigger for you when somebody, because that's a big problem for a lot of people to kind of deal with, because you could say whatever you want, and especially if you're telling the truth. If somebody sees the first complaint and doesn't see it, it's just out there forever, and that's the impression of your business.
Yeah, of course, I think any business owner, no matter what the business is, especially small businesses, you take that to heart. It's really hard. You take it super personally.
In some cases, the first thing people see about your business.
Yeah, yeah. So, and just even beyond that, beyond what anybody thinks, I take it personally.
Right. It's your life.
I feel so bad. So it's it's I don't know if triggering is the right word, but it's we obviously try to avoid reviews like that, because again, I set them up with expectations, and and we're very pretty hands-on as far as messaging and checking in on people in between follow-ups, and we do quite a bit of support of all these people.
Talked about the accountability partners already.
So I think that hopefully before it would ever get to that point, we would have trouble.
Just checks and balances. So we've talked about several of the products you guys offer, and we kind of mentioned it a little bit ago. Talk to me about the IV infusions. Those seem to be maybe the next big thing,
they are
popular item. What are they, and how are they helping people?
So, IV infusions, there's lots of places in town that offer them. So they help with hydration. They have different vitamins, minerals. There's certain ones that can be tailored toward people with hangovers. You'll put like
I was going to ask, glad you said it.
A nausea medication, an NSAID called Toradol. We put in those sometimes. Different ones for hair, skin, and nails. Like we would add biotin to that. Just keeping you hydrated and healthy, and just there's a lot of nutritional deficiencies also. So we can replace some of those vitamins with that kind of stuff.
We're at a point where technology is at its best form. The information superhighway has obviously been around for a long time. And I can't help but think about everything you're talking about: curing a hangover, weight loss. Seems like everybody in the 90s dream, right?
Right.
Is it a matter of there were so many failed lose 60 pounds in a week things in the 90s, and so many wives' tales about how to cure a hangover, that people have been just trying to perfect this for so long that's kind of where we are?
Yeah, probably so. But we do a pretty good job now.
Right. No, I agree. Because there were so many failures. I mean, you can only fail so many times before it works, right?
Yep.
How much has technology, social media, things like that? I mean, I'm sure you guys use Instagram a ton. How much? I don't have a face for Instagram, so I'm not on it. How much has that kind of helped your business?
To be honest, we have a social media presence, but I would say probably 75% of the people that come to me are word of mouth referrals.
That's great.
Honestly.
You can't beat free.
Yeah, exactly.
Something I can definitely relate to is you guys are helping people with hair loss as well.
Yeah.
How much of that has kind of grown in your business over the last couple of years? And is that kind of maybe the room for most growth?
The room for what?
Most growth in the business is helping with that.
The most growth for hair growth.
Yeah. See what I did there?
Yeah, I see what you did there. It's not a huge part of my business, honestly. I have so with weight loss, there's a lot of weight loss related hair loss that people have.
Oh, really? Okay.
So more so than like male pattern baldness and things like that.
Is it just a matter of they're becoming more healthy, so their hair is becoming more healthy?
Well, so what happens is I always liken it to, I know you're not a woman, but you probably know.
I've got 3 daughters and I grew up in a house full of women, so I can relate to a lot of this.
So, okay, so you have kids, so, you're, the kid's mom, when you're pregnant, your hair is like gorgeous and you're just and then what happens is you have the baby and your hormones tank
and they suck the life out of you.
And then
my wife's a stay-at-home mom, so I get it.
So what happens though, you have this big hormone shift, and your hair falls out. It's transient, it doesn't last long, and there's things we can do. So that also happens with weight loss. We store a lot of hormones.
I don't think men understand how lucky we are to not have to deal with everything we're talking about. I'm sorry, keep going.
You store hormones in adipose tissue, which is fat tissue. So so as you lose the fat, you lose, your hormones go through a shift.
Sure.
and you lose hair that way. You also lose hair, if you're losing weight, you're probably eating less calories. You may not be getting all your vitamins and minerals. You might not be getting enough protein. There's a lot of, so, you have the hair loss. So we deal with quite a bit of hair loss from that perspective.
Right.
We do have a small kind of group of men that we just treat with different things like minoxidil and things like that for hair loss. But
that's an interesting subject, is how open are men to walking in and having these conversations?
Surprisingly open.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, most of us are too stupid to go to our general doctor, so I didn't know.
Well, I think so. I was an ER nurse. I've been around first responder men all my life.
Sure.
So I think that
a detective or two.
I know a detective or two. I know a lot of firefighters. My nurse Jamie is married to a firefighter.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm very familiar with like the man's man.
Sure.
And so I kind of
type A personality.
Yeah. And I feel like I put them at ease pretty quickly.
Superpower?
No.
Okay.
No, but I don't know. I don't have too much trouble with it. And I think most men who talk to me would tell you that,
they feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, that they feel comfortable.
And we're catching up with Angie Vogel of Top Form here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. I saw on your Facebook that a couple of your team members went down to Kansas City for some training to be educated. How often are you guys having to do training or training adjacent things just to kind of keep up to date on what's new in the market?
Well, what's new?
I feel like the answer's a lot.
It's constant.
Sure.
It's constant. So I just, as nurses and nurse practitioners, we have to keep up our medical licenses and certifications and things. So there's a baseline amount of education that you have to get every year, every license renewal period.
Sure.
So there's that baseline.
And how often is that?
Every 2 years for my license, and then I'm board certified also, which is every 5 years, and it's a little bit different. But beyond kind of just the baseline things, we are always trying to figure out like, okay, well, what else are our patients looking for? Right. So when people come in, they talk about, I'm getting my Botox from this gal down the street. And I'm like, well, you're here anyway. Why aren't you just getting your Botox here too? So, we had some talks, the team. And
hopefully the gal down the street's a nurse.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure they are.
Okay.
But my nurse, Emily, one of my other nurses, she's just my go-getter. She's a young nurse, and
she wants to learn.
Yeah, she wants to learn all the time. And she's like, I really am interested. She's almost single-handedly got the IV stuff going. The research and setting up the different accounts with places. And so she wanted to.
You can't help but hear how proud you are of her for that reason.
I am.
Is that a big deal for you? Is to not only uplift obviously Top Form, but the people around you as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Why is that? Why is it a big deal for you?
Well, because I wish I worked as a nurse, and I know how
sometimes you're not appreciated.
Yeah, how disheartening that can be, to not feel appreciated and have nobody willing to like believe in you and say, yes, go do this. You're interested in it? Absolutely. You should explore that, and let's do it. And how can we make it work for me? Because
and I'm sure she loved it too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So her and my office manager, Danny, who also is very good at keeping me in line. Danny was her model. They went down to Kansas City, and she completed some training in Botox and filler. And so she's doing, working her way through friends and family to get good at it. And then we'll be opening up that offering too. So
that's awesome. We'll keep a look at Top Form's website for that as well. Not just hair loss, not just weight loss. You guys are helping men and women on sexual health journey as well. What are some of the similarities in that situation with men and women, and what are some of the differences?
Well, loss of libido is, it's a lot more common than you would think.
Is it as simple as that? That's just the overall problem?
I think that's a lot of it for some people.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, with men, there's erectile dysfunction and things like that. And that has, more to do. That's not just loss of libido. That's usually a physical.
That's why.
Yeah. That's like a physical issue that really needs to be addressed, there's different medications. Obviously, everybody's heard of Viagra, Cialis, and all that kind of stuff. We don't delve into like the mental health kind of portion of that can play into it, especially for women. I think that, we, especially if so there's this thing, body dysmorphia. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. But you
have an image of yourself. That's not true.
So even with weight loss, you'll hear from everybody, oh my God, you look fantastic. But sometimes it's hard for you.
You're still seeing that person in the mirror.
To get past. Yeah. You're
Mhm.
like, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. And so, when you feel unattractive and whatever, of course that would tank your libido. And so that's kind of a mental
Sure.
thing. We have a network of, mental health care providers that we can refer people to if it
Ton of great ones in Omaha.
Yeah, if it truly is, that's kind of the root of the issue. But as far as women, there's also something called just hypoactive sexual. Oh my gosh.
It's a mouthful, apparently.
HSDD.
Yeah.
Hyposexual.
Something disorder.
HSDD. Yeah. Sorry, I'm blanking on it. But there are medications that can help with that. Also just a lot of times hormones play into that for both men and women.
Especially after pregnancy.
Especially after pregnancy. Women need testosterone.
Yeah.
It helps a lot with libido and fatigue and things like that. So it's not just men that can benefit from testosterone. It's women also. Men, obviously testosterone plays a part in libido also. So
we'll get to some of the questions. Cheryl on LinkedIn wants to know where you're located. We mentioned it, Papillion. Can you give the address?
Yeah, I actually have 2 locations.
Oh, okay.
And sort of a ancillary third. So our main office is in Papillion. It's at 105 North Washington Street. It's right next to Sauced by El Faro and Twisted Vine.
New, right? You guys just got that spot, correct?
Oh, we've been there for a couple of years.
Oh, it must have been did you guys have a new neighbor on the other side then? There was one of those spots that was recently open.
Sauced has not been there a super long
Okay.
time. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've been there for almost 3 years
at
this point, but I started out doing largely virtual stuff. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Other 2 locations?
There is one location inside Pro Performance Gym, which is a gym that I also co-own. And that's at 11915 Pierce Plaza in Omaha.
And part of town is that in?
120th and Pacific.
Okay.
And then Amberly, specifically just Amberly, sees patients at her Gretna office. And I couldn't tell you the address.
That's fine.
It's right by Story's Coffee House.
Oh, there you go. I know exactly where it is then. Plug the website and how can people get a hold of you?
Okay. Our website is www.topformtelehealth.com. You can also call 402-855-5480. And you can email me if you'd like, Angie at topformtelehealth.com.
Shannon on YouTube wants to know, is it tough to keep GLP-1 medications in stock, and how are you dealing with that?
Oh, well, I don't know, Shannon, how up to date you are on all this stuff with the GLP, the OFA compounding companies and Eli Lilly and Novo. That's, the FDA took those compounded medications off of the shortage list. So, so that is kind of coming to an end. So, what we're mostly doing is sending prescriptions to retail pharmacies. We do have a few compounded options still, but tirzepatide and semaglutide are coming to an end.
And Stacey, that answers your next question. So that's going to do it for us here. We've covered a lot. Is there anything about Top Form that people should know about that we haven't mentioned today?
I don't think so. I really enjoyed coming. Thank you.
If you're on a health journey and want to have some of your questions answered, check out Angie's website or stop by at Papillion and have a discussion and get your questions answered. This has been the Spotlight Omaha podcast. We have a 2 for you today. We have another episode coming on. Stick around if you're watching on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Thanks for joining us. We've been brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. We'll see you in a few minutes.